بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إذا وقعت الواقعة ليس لوقعتها كاذبة خافضة رافعة إذا رجت الأرض
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Welcome to lesson 7 of Journey to the Hereafter. Today we're going to be discussing verses 20 to 26. As we talked about before, we said that there are three groups of people. As-sabiqun, the sabiqun, the foremost. Then there's, ashab al-yamin, those of the right, and, or actually those of the good fortune. We didn't say it's the right, we said those of the good fortune, those of ill fortune. So these rewards that we're reading in heaven are rewards for those that were at the foremost. This is something for us to be encouraged, and we're going to be reading what is the reward for those that are in heaven. So we said the first reward was a drink, and it was a ma'in, a drink that does not cause that type of intoxication in the world, but it is a pleasurable drink. So the first type of reward was the drink. Now the second type, if you can look at the slide here, we have وَفَاكِهَةٍ مِمَّا يَتَخَيَّرُونَ. So the second, وَفَاكِهَةٍ مِمَّا يَتَخَيَّرُونَ, and fruit of what they select. So the second reward, we're going to go over a list of rewards or benefits that the people of heaven, and this is for the Sabiqun group, that they're going to receive. The second are fruits, وَلَحْمِ طَيْرٍ مِمَّا يَشْتَهُونَ, and the meat of fowl, bird, from whatever they desire. So a question arises here is, well, how come Allah puts fruit before meat? And this is just all going to be something that we could just assume, nothing that we would know for sure for dalil, for proof, but I want you to think about it because sequence is important. And we need to know, why does first we have the drink, now we have the fruit, now we have, say, the meat. So, of course, all of these are desirable for us in this world, and would be desirable for us in the hereafter. Some say maybe it is the nutrition that maybe fruits have, and say the vitamins that fruit have. But in general, if you look at fakiha, the word fakiha also in Arabic means happiness. It comes from that, happiness. Like fakihun, for example, people that are happy. Why does fruit, do you think, make the Arabs happy? One reason is that you could say that fruit is something that was not always available because they live in the deserts. True, the fruits would come maybe from Ta'if or areas around and would be traded, but you're talking about a time period where it's not like today where you have refrigerators and freezers and everything can be available at your own house whenever you want. Talking about a time period, and especially when you don't have trees yourself in your own, for example, a city, fruits can be hard to get. Maybe they'd have to be brought in through parts of Arabia. Some parts have them. Obviously not that none of them have it. If you look at Ta'if or areas around, those areas have a lot of greenery. But it wasn't as abundant as other countries, as the desert. So when fruits would come and they spoil, it's not like, today, where if you really look at even apples that we have, in the way that they have been, genetically modified, or they have been, different types of thousands of types of apples we have, and they mix and match them so that they can have a good shelf life, so that they can last for for example, months or something. It wasn't like that before, so they would spoil, and it's not widely available. And don't look at it today that you go to the supermarket and you see all this fruit throughout the entire year. There's fruit for, one specific season, there's maybe in another season there's another type of fruit. I mean, that's how it works. So it was something that was scarce. So because of the scarcity, you can say Faqia was something, you can say the root, some say the root comes from happiness, meaning that when fruit was presented in Arabia back then, it would cause happiness, something extremely sweet, because the amount of sugar, and obviously sugar makes us very happy, alhamdulillah. So maybe because of the scarcity of fruit, maybe because of the nutrition of fruit, maybe because, this is how they would prefer this, or maybe this is the sequence in a meal, that you would have the drink, you would have the fruit, or you would have, for example, the meat later on. So, or the fowl. So regardless, we have to now look at these, two verses. But again, this is something that, is deserving of, for those that have worked hard, and we'll talk about this, they have worked hard in this world. Maybe, they have been deprived from fruit in this world. Maybe they were deprived from meat in this world. Maybe they did not have a financial situation where they can afford such things. But such, description in such, a banquet of God, that you would be invited and you would be taken care of, you would be served. This is reward. This is encouraging statements for us to say, look, whatever it is, you have to be patient. You have to work. You have to go for halal. You have to stay from haram in order for you to have such a reward. So this is one of the factors that causes man to encourage and inspire man to say, look, if you wait a little bit, our lives will be soon over. Soon, for eternity, you will be eating, drinking, having fruit, sitting. Remember, we said mutaqabilin, sitting with one another, speaking to one another. So the words, let's go through the tafsir. This is from Tafsir al-Mizan. The words, such fruits and such fresh flesh of fowls are joined by and chew with goblets, you said, the drink. In other words, the immortal youth will frequent them, will visit and serve them with such fruits as they prefer and such flesh of fowls as they desire. This does not conflict. So remember, whenever you read verses that talk about the reward of paradise, you should say in a way, Allah, inshallah, give us the reward of heaven. It should cause us, encouragement. It should, push us more to work harder so we can build for ourselves, a better place in the hereafter. This does not conflict with the narration. Now, a question that arises is that there are narrations and hadith that we have that say that, I don't know if anybody here has heard this, you can raise your hand if you have, that you will be served in the hereafter by the trees themselves. And the trees will lower their branches and they'll come into your house or to your room and they're right up here and you say, oh, thank you very much, and you have that fruit. Or you have, Allah was mentioning here that if one desires, for example, birds, they will land, they'll be fried and grilled in their hands, and they eat as much as they want, and the birds come back to life and they fly again. So how come here, question is, we have traditions that there's no need for to be served. It will already come to our rooms or to our homes. Like in one of the things, like in America, they talk about breakfast in bed, for example. That's something that is nice. Somebody is sleeping, they bring their breakfast in their bed and they serve them, So the answer is kind of like this, is that, well, sometimes it's heaven. So sometimes you want to be served in a different way. Sometimes you don't want that fruit to come here. You want to just be served. You want it to be ready and served right then, for example. So these don't contradict each other, or the hadith, Allama says, we'll read it. This does not conflict with the narrations that say that when the inhabitants of paradise desire fruits, the branches of the trees of paradise lower themselves so that they can pick the fruits from them. Or that when they desire the flesh of fowls, these birds land fried or grilled into their hands and they eat as much as they want. Then the birds come back to life again. This is because the inhabitants of paradise will have whatever they want. And it is part of the art of hosting guests for a feast that they are given whatever they desire by the hands of servants, especially when they are gathered together in assembly. So maybe we could say maybe that one is for their rooms, maybe this is in the assembly, in the banquet where they're sitting next to each other and they're being served. Because when you get served, you feel special. The fruit of heaven is obviously different than the fruit of earth. If you put one fruit, one of our mufassirin were talking about it, of heaven, it would outweigh, outprice, outvalue all the fruit in this world. One fruit of heaven. It's everlasting, so the quality of it's going to be different, the taste of it's going to be different, inshallah. Just remember, there to invite everyone else when you go to heaven, invite them to your banquets and your assemblies. Let's go to the next. So that was about three things: drink, fruit, and meat. And we have, traditions about meat. I was just looking at some of the hadith about meat as well, that it is one of the good types of food. Let's see. Obviously, there should be a balance. There's also traditions about not making your stomach the graveyard of animals. Not to overdo it. But, we have, for example, about meat, Sayyadu Idam al-Jannah al-Lahm, from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. One of the best types of food in heaven is meat. Or we have Al-Lahmu Sayyidu Ta'am fi dunya wal akhirah. So the foremost, the best of food in this world and the hereafter is meat. وَحُورٌ عِينٌ, in verse 22, and for them are fair women with large beautiful eyes. حُورٌ عِينٌ, they have large eyes. كَأَمْثَالِ اللُّؤْلُؤِ الْمَكْنُونِ, the likeness of pearls well protected. So here we have حُورٌ عِينٌ. Some of the traditions that I was looking at is they asked the Imam in hadith, Imam Rida alayhi salam, قال alayhi salam, ask him about what are حُورٌ العين. It says أما الحور العين فإنهن خلقنا من زعفران والتراب لا يفنين. They are created from, obviously dirt is what we're created from. But also it's interesting, this hadith is they create from za'faran, saffron. So Allama, being the mashallah gentleman that he is, he doesn't speak about this too much, but he says I spoke about this in other areas, and you just have a few, Allama Tawtari has a few notes about this, and that's it. This is one of the part of the nominal sentence. Its other part is implicit. So وَحُورٌ عِينٌ, so you can say وَلَهُمْ, because when you have a nominal sentence means a jumla and ismiya. Those that understand Arabic grammar, you have a mubtada and a khabar. Mubtada and a khabar, right? This would be, mubtada mu'akhar, and lahum would be khabar, that would be in front of the mubtada. But anyways, there's a lahum that is hidden here, lahum, for them. Based on the context of this verse, should be understood as, and for them, lahum. Hurun, there's hurun ain. And for them there shall be big-eyed huris, and therein are big-eyed huris. And then it says, كَأَمْثَالِ لُؤْلُؤٍ مَكْنُونٍ, like guarded pearls. So lu'lu, so that they are like, amthal means they're like, lu'lu means pearls, maknoon means well protected. Either protected from the eyes, protected from human touch, pure, these are things that maybe maknoon can mean, well protected. And that is just how a example that Quran brings about someone that is well protected, a female that is well protected, is like a pearl inside a clam. because nobody, that clam is hid and covers and protects that pearl. That's how pearls are, and therefore that pearl can only be, for that, their spouse or their, for the people of heaven. We talked a bit about the drink, the fruit. We talked about the meat. We talked about hurul ain. Then it says jaza'an, a reward, bima kanu ya'malun, a reward for what they used to do. I want you to, compare this to other religions that reward just only on faith and say either just faith or sometimes just on ethnicity. And if their mother, for example, belonged to that religion, you belong to that religion. And you're, you belong to the religion. Nobody else can enter this religion. Islam is the most logical religion. It is the most fair religion. And you see, time and time, Quran is for who? Quran is for the Muslims. The Muslims are reading. It's for everyone, but Muslims are generally the audience. They're hearing, they're reading it. Jaza'an bima kanu ya'malun, and a reward for what they used to do. So, interesting thing is, kanu ya'lamun is not for what they did, it's for what they used to do. Because the mudari form for ya'lamun means perpetual. They always did it. Meaning that the sabiqun, they have this characteristic, not that they did one good thing and now they have this high reward. No, they did reoccurring and reenacted all the good as much as they could in the world. And if you want to see if you're a sabiqun, or one of the foremost, that will be rewarded the foremost, look at your own life and see, are you always doing good? Are you always performing khair? Or is it, I do something good and I do something bad, or I do something good and I don't do anything else, I do one thing that's good. So the logic of Quran, from what we understand, is that we need action. Action will have this effect. Jaza'an, you can say this is, we're going to read what it is. It says, this verse qualifies everything above and is an object of purpose, maf'ulun lah, you can say. Or, this is should be maf'ulun lah here. So this is the reason why. So why do they get this? Because of jaza, and it's mansub, because it's maf'ulun lah, bima kanu ya'almun, because this is what they did. So therefore the meaning is, we will do all of this for them as a reward for them in return for the righteous deed that they continuously, they did continuously during their lives. So we see that faith is not just going to cause us salvation. Iman is not going to cause us salvation. It is going to be hand in hand with amal salih, with good action. I was reading, the other night, some traditions that many of us think, because we have a very dangerous path ahead of us. Remember, when we talk about this, we talk about journey to the unseen world. This heaven is the last part of the journey of the unseen world. We have death, we get buried, then we have barzakh, purgatory. Then, after purgatory, we have the annihilation of the entire world with Israfil. And then we have another life. Again, we're given life again. Then we have the day of resurrection. And part of the day of resurrection, we have this part which is called Sirat, the bridge. Okay? It's a jisr, it's a bridge, or Sirat means the path. Everyone has to walk through this path, okay, to enter later on heaven. Now, about Sirat, or the very thin, narrow bridge, there are two different, interpretations. One of the interpretations is this. Let me see if I can find it. One of the interpretations is this, in Surah Maryam, verse 71, وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. And there is none of you except he will come to it. There is upon your Lord and inevitably decreed. So one of the issues that we have is that hell is وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا, meaning that some of the Mufassirin say this, that hell, we enter hell. Meaning that everyone enters hell. Meaning that Sirat that we pass, that narrow bridge that we pass through hell. Some say you'll be going over hell like a bridge. Some say this verse means you'll be passing through it. In the heavens, in the angels, when they bring hell with 1,000 chains, in some of the narrations it says they're holding on to hell. And hell is breathing, inhaling, exhaling, furious. So we have to enter this. And one of the first stations, and we have stations when we're trying to enter, pass hell. Some, like the Prophet and Infallibles, they pass like electricity. They go very fast. Some, they'll be stuck there a little bit, and some will be burnt there. So when we look at hell, when we see Sirat, we see that in reality we're trying to pass by this, this narrow bridge, very dangerous for us. And one of the mawqif that we have is beliefs. And that is one of the first things in this narrow bridge, you could say, or in the Day of Judgment, we're going to be asking. We want to pass as fast as we can. There they ask about Tawheed. There they ask about Nubuwwat. There they ask about Imamah. And for us, we think that, okay, well, maybe these are very easy answers. They ask you, who is Allah? Who's your Lord? Allah. Who's the Prophet? Prophet Muhammad. But you come to some tradition, these stories, that actually, when you come to these traditions, you come to these stories, you see that there are people that they believed in when they were good, but when death faces them, at the end of their life, there are two examples I want to bring. At the end of their life, what happens to them is they lose their belief. So they had Iman until the very end. So the first example is a hadith from the Prophet that there's this person that was dying. And the Prophet comes to him in hadith, says, say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Say, bear witness that there's no deity but Allah. And this person, after 60 years of, after an old age, 60 or whatever age he was, you see that he says, I don't want to say la ilaha illallah. He was Muslim, but he doesn't want to say it anymore. And the Prophet is surprised, and not surprised, the Prophet asks, this guy dies without Iman. He does not say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Imagine Rasulullah is telling us, say la ilaha illallah, you say no. And he comes and asks the wife of this person, and the wife, says, did he have any bad habits? And the wife says to him that actually, he had a bad habit. He would drink alcohol. He would secretly drink alcohol. So there are actions that we do that can cause us to lose faith. So our faith is based on actions. And if we sin, God forbid, the very end of our lives, that is when God and the shayateen and the satans can take away our belief. We have another example from one of the students of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Fudayl ibn Ayyad. And Fudayl ibn Ayyad is a student of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he had a very good student himself. So the student of Imam Sadiq, they thought was a very good person. And when he is dying, teacher comes to him and recites Surah Yasin. And this person says, look, I don't want Surah Yasin. Don't recite that. So he says, okay, then say La ilaha illallah. Bear witness that there's no Allah but Allah. You're dying. And he says, I hate this word. I don't like it. So he dies without saying he doesn't like Surah Yasin. He doesn't like Quran being recited from him. He doesn't like to say La ilaha illallah. So Fudayl has a dream, and in the story, he sees this person, and he says, what happened? He says that there's three characteristics that I had. One, I did namami, meaning that I used to make up rumors between two groups of people, and they fought each other. I did that. This is why I couldn't have faith at the end of my life. Two, I had jealousy. Therefore I couldn't have this faith. And three, I used to drink alcohol. So you see that the faith that we have will be tested. And if this knowledge that we have of Allah is truly ingrained in us and is nur and light, then it will stay with us until the Day of Judgment. But if it's not, it will falter in this world. It will falter in the hereafter. So let's go through now these other last parts. لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما. They will not hear therein ill speech or commission of sin. لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما. This is another benefit, is that there's no ill speech. There's no useless speech. Ta'thim can be talked about false accusations. So they will not hear therein any vain talk or sinful speech, ta'thim. Laghwa, vain talk, means talk that has either no benefit or effect. People today, if you look at most speech that people have, most of it might be laghwa. A lot of times, there's no benefit for it. They're just talking to talk. People, unfortunately, sometimes get addicted to talking. And if they're silent for a little bit, they get bothered. So heaven, you won't hear all those people talking and causing you a headache. It'll just be whatever they'll be talking. There'll be good talk. There'll be beneficial talk. But there won't be laghwa. There won't be vain talk. Wasting talk. And there won't be sinful ta'thim, sinful speech. So it means to attribute sinfulness to someone. For example, means to attribute sin to someone else. Some also have interpreted ta'thim to mean lying. In heaven, we will not have that anymore. Everything that will happen, that speech will be real. And this is also for us, if we want to live a heavenly life, we see that this is the best way to live, is a life that there is no lagh. We don't speak just to say something. We are very reserved. We have haya. We're modest when it comes to our speech. You don't have to ask everyone everything. Maybe some things are offensive. Maybe they don't want to talk about some things. To be very cautious not to hurt others' feelings. And not to just talk about something just to talk about it. When you are with your brothers, when you are with all your sisters, you talk about beneficial things, talk about good things, talk about knowledge, increase each other's knowledge, increase each other's understanding, encourage each other. وَلَا تَأْثِيمًا, and then there'll be no sin. And this is the end of what we're going to be mentioning today, is إِلَّا قِيلًا سَلَامًا سَلَامًا. But there only be, the word will be peace, peace. There's no vain talk, no sin, no commission of sin, no rumors. It's just going to be peace, peace. Because we know one of the ways that we harm each other a lot is by speech. We harm each other, we bother. Sometimes you say to someone a day, 2 days, a week, they're thinking about it. So a heaven that not only is there drink, food, fruit, huris, women of paradise, and also we have a complete relaxed and a place where we can enjoy ourselves without hearing those people that would yap in this world, talk too much in this world. They would talk during your lectures, for example. Or you have, for example, people that are offending you or making up rumors about you. None of that. So imagine if it's just eating and drinking and this wouldn't be stopped. Allah stops this too, because He knows that we bother each other. So they're just saying salaman, salama, good things. So the repetition of the word peace is meant to show that this is something they frequently say. Therefore, the meaning is all they will say is peace time and again. Some have suggested that the Arabic could also be understood that except sound speech. So some said they only say salam, salam, or some say they mean sound speech, good speech to one another. May Allah inshallah cause us to be of those that become of the sabiqun, because this is jaza'an bima kanu ya'malun. This is a jaza for those that are always working for their hereafter, always striving to do good and always doing khair to others, always doing good to others, always worshipping God, and whatever they do is, amal salih, always, they're being rewarded for what they're doing in this world. Inshallah, Allah make us one of those, give us the reward of heaven, forgive our believing men and women, inshallah, our parents, and to, inshallah, help the oppressed, children, oppressed people of Gaza, in Palestine, and all the oppressed people throughout the world, and expedite the return of our Imam, who is the true savior of humanity, the savior of mankind, and make us of his companions. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ahli bayti at-tayyibin at-tahirin.
خافضة رافعة إذا رجت الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا فكانت هباء